very warm good afternoon everyone. Today we have gathered online to commemorate the release of third edition of our e-magazine Milieu Online. I am speaking to you when the entire world is in the grip of pandemic coronavirus, which has brought the world to a grinding halt. Now we understand more than ever that international disasters of such enormity require collective action. Hippocrates, famous Greek philosopher, once said, "For extreme diseases, extreme method of cure as to restriction are most suitable." The crux lies in prevention and control rather attempting to tame it after it runs wild. This stands true for any disaster. Dear friends, with these words, let's take the program further. We are very delighted to have amongst us our college principal, Honorable Dr. Sadhna Sharma, who has been a great pillar of support for our academic growth. I would like to share my favorite line from her message in our magazine, and I quote, "How you overcome a difficulty defines who you are." And now I request our principal to share her thoughts.
With great pleasure and pride, I initiate this program of releasing the e-magazine Milieu of Department of Geography. The theme of this issue of magazine is very relevant as all of us are going through a difficult time of lockdown due to the spread of coronavirus or COVID-19. As the theme of e-magazine is disaster management, it can give an insight to all of us that being prepared and knowing what to do in such a difficult condition can help immensely. I wish for a great success in spreading awareness about disaster management. I welcome Dr. Rakhi as a speaker at this event and thank her for delivering the lecture on the subject for the benefit of all. I congratulate Dr. Rachna Dua and Department of Geography for publishing this e-magazine on such a relevant and contemporary issue. I wish them all the success for this e-magazine and many more future issues on important themes. All the best. Thank you very much.
That was our college principal's very inspirational message. Many thanks for it. And now I take this opportunity to connect you all to this wonderful message by an eminent veteran geographer and my mentor, Professor H. Ramachandran.
I congratulate the students of the Shama Prasad Mukherjee College for this endeavor to create an e-magazine on disaster, dealing with disaster. One of the issues that the disaster management so far has not addressed is the question of animal rights. I hope one of the later issues of this journal will address issues dealing with domesticated animals, cattle, stray dogs, and their rights. It would be an interesting theme which the geography students can pursue. All the best in your endeavor.
Many thanks for your valuable suggestions, sir. And we are privileged to receive two more messages from our learned colleagues, Professor S. K. Sinha, who is Principal Shaheed Bhagat Singh College Evening, and Professor Surinder Singh, Associate Professor from Shivaji College. Let's hear from them.
I am happy to know that Shama Prasad Mukherjee College is launching its e-magazine Milieu on the theme dealing with disasters. Disasters are one of the biggest threats to the well-being of humans on this planet. It has been observed that natural disasters affect smaller areas and for a shorter duration compared to human-induced disasters. But in all cases, poor and disadvantaged sections of society are the worst victims. Today, the world is in deep crisis. COVID-19 disaster has spread throughout the world. Perhaps God has put us into this state to introspect, reflect and go for course correction. आज खाली समय में सोचिए, फैसला आपका, भविष्य मानवता का और पृथ्वी का.
Hello. I come to know that our sister organization SPM College has started an e-magazine which is managed by the students of Geography Department of the SPM College. I'm told this year the magazine is entering its third edition. I would like to congratulate the students as well as the faculty members of the SPM College for this important work they have started. I'm also told that this year the theme of the magazine is disaster management. It's a very pertinent topic because humanity has been facing various kinds of disasters for a very long period of time. Of course, the nature of the disasters keeps on changing. While earlier the natural disasters like floods or droughts or earthquakes used to be the major concern, this year we have faced a totally different kind of human disaster which is related to the health which is affecting the entire world population, that is COVID-19. Now, management of this kind of disasters needs a different kind of strategy than the strategy we have been following for management of the natural disasters. Because whereas in case of natural disasters, we can be prepared for a particular kind of disaster, for example, the disasters like the floods or the droughts. But a health disaster is every time a new kind of disaster for which there can be really no preparation in advance, other than that we can have some kind of resilience in the economy, the resilience in the society, so that people can face it better. I hope the students and teachers of the SPM College will be able to suggest some measures and come out with an outline which can be useful for the policy formulation in future to face this kind of disasters. I wish all the best to the students and the faculty of the SPM College. Thank you.
Thanks for very engaging and enriching messages. And now we are going to launch our e-magazine Milieu online. Our editorial team headed by Ms. Anuradha Shankar set out to examine disasters in all its facets. This will be followed by a short program prepared by the students of our department staying at their respective places during this lockup period. And for this, I now invite Ms. Pavi, student editor of the magazine.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It gives me an utmost pleasure to speak at the release of the third edition of our e-magazine Milieu. Milieu is not just a magazine, but it's a vision wherein we try to talk about and bring to notice the recent geographical issues. The theme for this year's magazine is dealing with disasters. Incidences of disasters have been increasing day by day, and so has been increasing their scale of impact. Last year we saw some of the greatest disasters, from Amazon fires to Australian bushfires to Typhoon Lekima in China to Cyclone Idai in Africa and many more. I am sharing this message while the world is battling with the recent outbreak of COVID-19, a pandemic that has changed our life as we know it. World has come to a standstill and we are still trying to figure out a definitive way to get out of this. Hence we decided to talk about disasters. I am now presenting a few glimpses from. Now I would request Principal Ma'am and the respected teachers to please release the magazine. Thank you. I would now invite students of first year to deliver a message.
lakh deaths and 28 lakh confirmed coronavirus cases worldwide. The world is grappling under the fear of an invisible deadly virus.
The roads are empty and the streets are silent.
The empty playground plays with nobody except the sunshine and the sunshades.
The eyes linger on the sunset in the dusky hue of evening.
Coronavirus has spread its wings into all spheres of society. Complaints, blatant lies, and rumors surround us.
Every cloud is a silver lining. No matter how difficult today gets, we shall have hope and love tomorrow amidst the hour of quarantine.
Our childhood, we all want to be a superhero. Now, yes, it's a time to be a superhero by only staying at home. Enjoy your quarantine.
Like they say, when the going gets tough, the tough gets going.
Beneath the quiet, calm lies a sense of realization that our society has come unhinged.
You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength.
We are the successors of a generation of believers, and here's an opportunity to find deeper paths within ourselves.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्.
Well, that was very inspiring indeed. Now we move on to another presentation by students of second year.
जय 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 हो जय 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 फिर से शहरों में रौनक आएगी फिर से गाँव में लौटेगी हंसी फिर से साथ सारे यार होंगे ना होगी पाबंदी ना रोक ही कोई फिर से सड़कों पे सब नाचेंगे पटरी पे पहिए भागेंगे गूंजेंगे खेलों के मैदान बांटेंगे हम खुशियाँ गम भी हम मिलकर बांटेंगे फिर से होगी सपनों की उड़ान जो साथ दे दे सारा इंडिया फिर मुस्कुराएगा इंडिया जीत जाएगा इंडिया जो साथ दे सारा इंडिया फिर मुस्कुराएगा इंडिया जो साथ दे सारा इंडिया फिर मुस्कुराएगा इंडिया
Thanks, dear students, for putting up a wonderful show. So let's move further, and I'm happy to share that now Dr. Rakhi Parijat, Associate Professor, Miranda House, is going to enlighten our audience with her experiences. She specializes in environmental geography, remote sensing, and disaster management. She'll talk about disaster resilience today. I welcome you, Dr. Rakhi, to deliver the talk.
Thank you, Rachna. Thank you so much. And hello, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to be the guest speaker for the event. I'm extremely delighted to be part of this function. I congratulate the entire SPM team for release of their e-magazine. Despite a lot of difficulties one is facing during these times, I'm quite exhilarated to see your enthusiasm. For the next few minutes, I would discuss a dimension of disaster risk reduction where me or you become important. For those who are not very familiar with disaster related studies, I will just take you through some basic concepts. Hazards. They are any natural or man-made processes which are capable of posing threat to human life. Exposure, when human communities are exposed to all these hazards. So hazards can be both man-made or natural. This hazard may become highly catastrophic when damage to people, property, or society becomes so extreme and they result in disasters. But in between, there are few others. First, the risk. It is the probability of the occurrence of a hazard or disaster. That means where some kind of predictions can be made and we can also to certain degree assess this risk. Risk can be minimized by early planning, but barriers to understand and predict and also mitigate the hazard leads to disaster. Though societies selectively choose their risk because they think differently, because of their varied perception, it may be a reflection of their values, beliefs, social institutions, or even their behavior. The next is vulnerability. Now, which increase or decrease the risk. The more vulnerable we are, more is the risk. So it's basically the degree to which it is likely to be damaged. So a kind of condition or characteristic or even circumstance of a community that makes it susceptible to a damaging effect of a hazard. So we can say that vulnerability plus hazard is equivalent to disaster risk. And then we have resilience, that is ability to resist this risk and minimize the disaster impacts. It is possible through capacity building so that we acquire a number of skills which helps us in resisting. Now, absence of all these can lead to a potential hazard becoming a real disaster. So today, I would like to draw your attention towards disaster resilience and our responsibilities as a first responder. Now, as we are aware, disaster brings immense misery. There's a common understanding that it disrupts the functioning of the society because of the threat to life and property. So here there are three issues. First, there is a lot of suffering, a collective suffering, as we have seen in the present times, which is bad. Secondly, the development process of the country or the economy is halted, and therefore the whole economy suffers. And as a result, all sections of the society are also affected, sometimes especially the youth. And thirdly, if it is not managed properly, it can invariably lead to a total collapse of the society. Now, after every disaster, there is a whole process of recovery and rehabilitation that gives us hope for a future, which is of course good. But many times there is a false hope. Most of the times we are entrapped in believing that we have also reduced our future risk. Now, sometimes we do better in the next disaster because of our personal experience and capability to handle it, and sometimes just by chance. But most of the time, it brings repeated setbacks. And those who are not affected are least bothered. For them, it's just a piece of news, which is easily forgotten. If it doesn't make a news, then they are not even bothered about it. That means it has not yet happened. So what does it suggest? Precautions are better than cure. Here the question is, are we doing what we need to do? We are quite happy in our comfort zones, and our perceptions about vulnerability varies from one place to another. People are more concerned with their immediate and day-to-day problems. Now, it could be as trivial as drinking water, health, traffic, accidents, etc., rather than thinking about disasters. We also often take pride in, oh, we are safe at the moment. Nothing will happen to us. It's kind of fantasy. And we are in deep slumber. But suddenly, one day we realize we have lost too much. And lost in self-pity, we keep waiting for help. Help? Some kind of external help. We always believe that it is the duty of the administration to reduce risk and disaster impacts. Nothing wrong in that thinking. But can we really afford to just wait and watch and do nothing about it? As individuals and communities, have we ever thought whether we have become resilient or not? Resilience does not necessarily mean building more infrastructure or achieving milestones in our ever-increasing technology, or for that matter, becoming richer. In this world where risks are too high, living with uncertainties is everyday challenge. So we have to find a middle path. And what is that? Resilience. Now here we have to deal with two major aspects. First is coping up with adversity, and second, to develop capacity to reduce the disaster impacts, which may take time. But then we have a better chance. We often question why some people or communities are more affected than others. Even though we know the answer partially, but we as a society hardly indulge in verifying those causes. Japanese examples reflect deep sense of engagement and responsibility shown by its people. Well, the universal truth is we are living with risk, and there is no concept of risk-free environment. Despite that, we can bring more meaningful changes to our life and society if we are trained to visualize our risk. Now mind it, trained to visualize our risk. Visualization is important. Another dimension of this risk are our vulnerabilities. Our everyday activities are making us more vulnerable. All kinds of vulnerability, physical, social, economic, locational, environmental. In fact, our country is also a land of vulnerability, which increases the disaster risk and also the disaster impacts. Whether it is earthquake, floods, cyclones, drought, every year large number of property and life is lost. So many millions of households are affected because of that. It causes social and economic disruptions, and lot of revenue is also lost in the process. A society with high vulnerability index is viewed negatively in economic development index. It indicates lack of ability to cope. As soon as we take out vulnerability from our life, disasters are going to reduce manifold times, and it is true. Thus, building resilience is our only hope for future. Although resilience is not opposite of vulnerability, it is definitely a positive and proactive approach to strengthen the capacities of the communities. As the definition goes, resilience is ability to resist, absorb, accommodate, or recover from the effects of a hazard in a timely and efficient manner. Now, all these words are important: resist, absorb, accommodate, or recover, which refers to both reduction of risk as well as timely response during disasters. We must also understand that as individuals and communities, we have significant role to play. Now, many of our earlier experiences points out to many of the vulnerabilities and failures in the past. Now, it constantly reminds of our inability to absorb the shock or recover from deadly impacts. Forget about resilience. Now, whether it was the Orissa supercyclone, the Bhuj earthquake, the Indian Ocean tsunami, or the number of periods of floods which we have witnessed in the later periods. So, there are 4 elements of resilience framework. First is the context, that is understanding resilience in context to something, that is it could be a social group, a region, institutions, etc. Second is the type of disturbance or the hazard condition in a particular place. And so it talks about various types of hazards, disasters and associated impact, shocks and stresses which we go through. Third is capacity to deal with it, that is exposure, sensitivity and adaptive capacity. Now, adaptive capacity takes a long time. It is basically our learning to cope up over time. And finally, reaction to disturbances, our responses and path towards recovery. Now, responses are very important faculty of our mind. So, we need to sharpen them. And this will tell us a lot about our preparedness, whether we have bounced back better or collapsed after a disaster. If we build upon our community's experience, many times we have dealt with hazards and disasters by working together and have positively responded to many emergencies. Now, here the foremost step is first to understand the risk. You remember visualizing the risk? And if you just look around, you'll find there's so many risks around us. Look for risk and vulnerabilities. Second, prepare and plan to avert this risk and maybe reduce our vulnerabilities over time. Third, stay informed. Our awareness is very important. And then practice, which might take time, but gradually our responses to deal with disasters and disaster risk will also improve. As responsible citizens, we must also share and reach out to other community members, which means some kind of outreach or dissemination program. Now, this all points out that we have to have a culture of being prepared, and which needs to begin in the formative years of life. Community engagement framework is the process of stakeholders working together to build resilience. And how do they do it? Through collaborative action, shared capacity building, and development of strong relationship built on mutual trust and respect. The last part is very important. Our coexistence and our understanding of the system together. Effective community engagement should be part of our day-to-day practices in prevention, preparedness, response, and recovery phases of emergency management, or which we commonly call as disaster management cycle. So, communities need to be engaged before, during, and after major emergency events, because communities are the best who would know better about their own local environment. The least we can do is to prepare a checklist of first, do's and don'ts of hazards and disasters. Second, make a list of emergency numbers. Sometimes we need them very, very urgently. Third, prepare an emergency kit, a 72-hour backpack for each family member with essential items. You can easily find it on the net. And later, also develop some life skills, which again may take time, but knowledge of first aid, rescue work, etc. can really help. Now, there are also many challenges to this community work. We have to prioritize our risk reduction activities over other things. Then there is also a challenge to engage each and every member of the society and also to sustain the community effort. Thirdly, to design the outreach program so that it benefits everybody through a collective mobilization. Creating of pro-social and helping behavior is equally important. And most of all, be innovative. Think around. So, motto should be mobilize, sensitize and encourage. Now, even in the present context, if we visualize our COVID experience, we are all caught up in a situation which we had not witnessed earlier or expected it, and of course was never prepared for it. Within few days, we have become wiser about what to do and what not to do, and many other precautionary strategies. Suddenly, we have acquired a wealth of information during these difficult times, or something which I call it as a warlike situation. Therefore, I am positive that we can do much better during the peacetime too. We will have more time to indulge on these activities. There is no dearth of information. We just have to take cognizance of risk and vulnerabilities around us and be prepared to respond sensibly. With this message, I wish you good luck, pray for your safety and well-being, and expect that each one of you will ponder upon it and also share it with your peers. Thank you so much.
Dr. Rakhi, for an engaging session. You rightly pointed out that enhancing resilience of a nation and its communities is an important way to cope with disasters. I express my gratitude to Professor H. Ramachandran, to Dr. Sudhir Sinha and to Dr. Surinder Singh for sharing their views and their words of encouragement. I would like to thank Principal Ma'am Dr. Sadhna Sharma for her continuous support and her guidance. A warm thanks to Dr. Rachna Dua for coordinating the entire event right from its inception to its execution. A special thanks to Dr. Jaya Gera, to Mr. Manish Kumar from Department of Computer Science, and to Sarabjit ji from the office for giving us the necessary technical support. A warm thanks to my colleagues, students and the editorial team for all the hard work that they have put in. To end, I would like to say that we are experiencing a disaster of a magnitude which is unprecedented in history. Every day is a new challenge and a fresh learning. So please follow the advisory as much as possible and stay safe. Namaskar.